Breaking news just in from Egypt. Although Egyptians were known to take the seas, said it wrong.
A brief history of Stevie Barry and his live art.
You've got to express what is taboo.
Although Stevie enjoyed theatre studies, A-level with art at school, 2 years in Hounslow's Brunel University saw no performance during the BTEC in General Art and Design. When he got to Central St. Martin's to study sculpture, however, there was a 3-week crossover into critical fine art practice involving performance art, installation and documentative art. So, January 1991, he developed a short mime piece where he first hooked up with Terry Castle and Ron McNeill to show the silent frustration at the invasion of personal space on the London Underground. This resurfaced 7 years later with Stevie's first solo show as he found the words after having co-founded Impact Theatre in Limerick and taken Jean-Paul Sartre's No Way Out on tour. Impact Theatre's first play, No Way Out, Jean-Paul Sartre, Huis Clos, and many other names. No Exit, I believe, as well. 40 performances throughout the Republic of Ireland. And by God, it was a birth by fire. You know what they say. Work produces work. Without a bit of hardcore theatre work, there can be no live progress. During spring 1991, a sculpture tutor approached Stevie and Cornelius de Jersey to assist in a short street performance outside Central St. Martin's on Charing Cross Road. The brief was simple. The three of them were to engage in a presentation using gobbledygook, rules tossed aside. The phonetic poetry of da, da, da crept in with a changing field of nonsense languages, which sounded as if they were quite real and perfectly foreign. Cornelius went on to work with Stevie on the primal or campfire performances. These were explorations into cyclical behaviour and the transformation of the animal within. Ah yes, the North Foyer space, which is now the new entrance to the school, was a small gallery space for use in-house. I made a metal bender covered in tarpaulin. Terry, Ron and Cornelius were inside with Oscar, head and drums, one pair of stuffed gloves. I was in an upturned cardboard box with a Stanley knife and a baggy jumper. I cut my way out, bit by bit, until suddenly I emerged, doused in the floppy jumper, pretending to be a baby owl, a monkey, a dog, and probably a few other animals. Of course, it has always been fresh live art with little rehearsal. It has been performed in varying different ways over the years. Scry News was born in video the following year, entitled Pieces of Paper. 1992. Spawned from a group presentation for Roxanne Permar's seminars, Terry, Ron and Stevie devised a piece which started a series of pieces including the campfire performances. Ron was smartly dressed, presenting Stevie in a box as a pocket Sherman, a new product, while Terry was the prospective buyer of this newfangled toy. He took a hard line against industrialization and capitalization and, of course, human rights. You can't sell people in boxes. Terry, Ron and Stevie worked together on the architecture of the mind for the Architectural Association in summer 1993. They were one of 5 performances which were invited from sculpture and critical fine art practice departments. The video footage appeared to sing in chaotic chorus to the live Stevie and was by far the pinnacle of nearly 3 years of performance work subsidiary to their chosen majors. Ron was now presenting me as more of a laboratory experiment encountering difficulties. Terry argued for my humanity, even though I was just a human television regurgitator who had reached the limit. Of course, it then lay dormant until Stevie received a training workshop in video editing during 1996 when he joined the Limerick Community Arts Scheme. For a year, thanks to Foss, some of the material formed an integral part of the first ever performance by Impact Theatre at Costello's in January 1997. An 11-minute video piece was presented during Infusion National Live Arts Review, Limerick City, that same year. Impact devised their second live piece for the video. The following was written about the piece by me. The schizophrenia of the extra intelligence which sits in the lounge blaring out stories, scenarios, images, and messages can reflect onto our own psyche, which is then integrated into our own personal experience of the world from an objective standpoint. That was a long sentence. What are we being told? What intricacies are involved in a multimedia global village collaborating with technology to communicate en masse the state of the world affairs, and how does it affect the psychological state of humanity? A final devised performance happened in spring at the Limerick Boat Club, which ended the trilogy for them to concentrate on Sartre's script and then Samuel Beckett's play. For the first ever unfringed festival at the Belltable Arts Centre in January 1998, which also meant that Stevie was in fact on nationwide RT1 for approximately 2.5 seconds. Some live performances occurred later in the year above at Jerry Flannery's Catherine Street on the Fringe when Stevie left Impact to tend to his own things. Yes, every year Oscar and Dan would come to Limerick School of Art to give live art workshops culminating in an evening of approximately 14 performances. Stevie simply approached the students afterwards to see if they wanted to do more live work. Those that did worked on 5 live art evenings in the space of a year at different locations. The Art College, Flannery's, of course, the White House, and Baker Place. During Infusion 1998 that year, the final instalment was revealed in which there were no pieces of paper whatsoever. In 2002, Stevie and Audrey, his partner, wanted to create some Cabaret Voltaire nights, and so looked to the pieces of paper again. 4 arty-farty parties were held in the White House basement. The title for this was their friend Graham J. Gill's idea, who was also involved. Their friend and musician Ronnie J. Griffin reviewed old and new documents and proposed a new script involving a number of people, and utilised a dramatic backdrop and plot for what was going on behind the scenes of the pieces of paper. Entitled Schnachter, the screenplay concentrated on the corruption of the legal and labour system in Western society and the subsequent addictions which can prevail themselves on high-profile figures. This was based at LTN, Limerick Television News. The screenplay was never actually filmed.